Junior authors. This is Laura Michelle Thomas here, author of Polly Wants to Be a Writer. And I wanted to talk to you briefly today about how to format the thoughts that go inside a character's head, not the things that they're speaking out loud. Those are easy, right? We just put those in quotation marks and format them as dialogue. But what do you do with thoughts, the things that the characters don't say? Well, it's really easier than you think. I'm going to just read to you a little excerpt here from my very lumpy lump of clay. This is from the first draft of my novel, The Adventures of Bob Warhop, which is not quite done yet, but I'm going to read you this paragraph. Please forgive the mistakes, but it's first draft, so it doesn't matter. And then I'll point out a little example, and you'll just see how easy it is to do the formatting for characters' thoughts. So starting from here, actually we'll pick it up here. Bob looked down at the girl as Frank stepped over her. Her eyes were closed, her face pale and sickly looking thanks to the pickle green and mustard yellow uniform she wore. Bob thought she didn't look much older than Emily. So here we go. This last sentence, I'm telling you, I the narrator, I'm telling you what Bob thought at that moment. I am doing what's called an indirect presentation of Bob's thoughts. So that's one way you can show it. You can just narrate a character's thoughts. Just tell me what they thought. You don't have to do any fancy punctuation. Just write it. Just tell me straight up, just like I did. Bob thought she didn't look much older than Emily. Now, the other option you have, of course, is to directly present what the character is thinking. I could have replaced this sentence with, she doesn't look much older than Emily. Now, notice this, I could have formatted that in two different ways. When you're presenting direct thought, you have two choices. You can use italics, or you can use quotation marks followed by thought Bob, okay? Or Bob thought, comma, quotation marks. But you don't really, if you're doing it in, don't get confused and think that something so simple as this really needs italics or any kind of quotation marks. It really doesn't. It's very clear to the reader here what I'm saying. Bob thought she didn't look much older than Emily. Very clear. Now, if for some reason I thought this was a very important thing that I wanted you to actually hear the thoughts in Bob's head, I might have done it like this with italics. I don't know when I would use this one. I'm not a fan of this option here for direct presentation using quotation marks. I find that if I'm using quotation marks, I like to limit that to dialogue. I'm also not a big fan of using italics anywhere in the story unless I feel it's really necessary to offset something or make it jump out at the reader. I find italics really tend to break a story's spell. So I often, most of the time, I think in Polly, I don't know if there's anywhere where I did a direct thought. I think everything is pretty much indirectly presented for thoughts. Okay, so quick and easy. You don't have to overthink this. You know, we're talking about thoughts in a character's head. You have two choices. You can either indirectly present it or directly present it. And whichever one of these two direct forms of presentation you choose, just be consistent, okay? Don't use this one time and this one another time, okay? If you're going to use italics for direct thoughts, do that consistently throughout your manuscript, no matter whose thoughts you're sharing. If you're going to use this way, the quotation mark way of showing a direct thought, be consistent throughout your manuscript, okay? The main thing with your manuscript is you want to have everything consistent, because once it leaves your hands, it goes to an editor's desk. The editor's got to understand from how you wrote your manuscript what you're trying to do, okay? And then it's all got to be polished up and sent off to the person who does the layout for the book. So making sure that what you're trying to do is consistent, it helps everybody down the line. So that's it. Super easy. Keep writing, and I'll see you next time.